Get off my land or I'm calling 911. The HOA president yelled from her yellow golf cart. She was live streaming to 50,000 people watching her. I just kept fishing calmly at Silver Water Lake, not moving at all. This is Coleman Property, she shrieked, already dialing the police. There's a dangerous man on my land who won't leave. Within minutes, 3 cop cars arrived with their sirens wailing. She smiled, thinking she had won, as the officers walked toward me. But when Chief Rodriguez looked at my papers, his hands began to shake. Mrs. Coleman, he said slowly, you should probably stop your live stream. What she found out next went viral across the country. Where are you watching from? Comment below. The woman in the golf cart looked like she was from a bad suburban dream. Every part of her look was carefully chosen to make her seem important and better than everyone else. Her bleached blonde hair was cut in that sharp style that just screams, I want to speak to your manager. She held a selfie stick in one hand, steering the cart wildly with the other. She was talking to her phone like she was putting on a show for a big audience. She wasn't by herself. 2 other women were with her in the cart. They were both wearing the same Silverwater HOA polo shirts and had the same fake looks of anger on their faces. As the 3 of them came closer, I could hear her voice. It was high-pitched and loud, like she was performing for everyone. Good morning, my beautiful supporters. It's your HOA President, Patricia Coleman, coming to you live from our beautiful Silver Water Lake. She was giving a tour, moving her phone around to show the lake to her viewers. Her voice was filled with a pride that made it sound like she owned the whole place. I watched, a little amused. She sounded like a cheap real estate agent giving a tour. This is why we need strong HOA rules, everyone, to keep our paradise perfect. No outsiders, no troublemakers, no. Her camera suddenly pointed at me. I saw her face change from fake happiness to big, theatrical anger in a second. Her eyes lit up like someone who had just found a great story for her show. Oh my God, everyone, look at this, Patricia shrieked. She almost dropped her phone because she was so excited. Her friends gasped loudly right on cue. She jumped out of the golf cart, moving surprisingly fast for someone in expensive heels and a tennis skirt that cost more than what most people pay for rent. She started walking toward me, holding her phone up high like it was a weapon for recording everything. Excuse me, sir, excuse me. She yelled, even though I was only about 20 feet away and could hear her just fine. I didn't turn around. I just took another bite of my sandwich and kept my eyes on my fishing bobber, which was floating peacefully on the water. Sometimes the best way to deal with someone acting crazy is to not react at all. That was a lesson my grandfather taught me a long time ago. This is private property. I am Patricia Coleman, the HOA President of Silver Water Lake. She went on, her voice getting higher and more annoying with every word. I could hear the excitement in her voice. She thought she had found a great moment of drama for her viewers, a real-life fight that would get her more attention. You're trespassing on Coleman land. My family built this community, 150 years of history, and you have the nerve too. Finally, I spoke, but I didn't turn around. I kept my voice calm and even, like quiet water. I know exactly who you are, Mrs. Coleman. That simple sentence seemed to surprise her. For a second, she looked confused, like she was expecting me to be scared or angry and didn't know what to do when I was calm. But she recovered fast, her fake anger doubling as she saw a chance for more drama. Then you know you need to leave right now. This is Coleman land. My great-great-grandfather started this community with his own 2 hands. I thought it was funny how people always exaggerate their family's importance. Public records showed the Colemans had only been here for about 70 years at the most. But I wasn't going to correct her version of history, not yet. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a special ringtone I had been waiting for. I looked at the caller ID and answered it calmly. Double quotes, yes, she's here, I said quietly into the phone. Exactly like you said she would be, right down to the yellow golf cart. I paused, listening to the familiar voice on the other end giving me instructions. Phase 1. Got it? Let her make it worse. The papers are ready. Patricia's reaction to my phone call was exactly what I expected. It was quick, like a chemical reaction you could time. Are you threatening me? Everyone heard that? This man is making threats. She turned the camera on herself, and I had to admit I was impressed by how fast she could make tears appear in her eyes. It was clearly a skill she had practiced. "I'm so scared. He won't leave. And now he's calling people, planning something. I think he could be dangerous." Donations started pouring in on her live stream. Every notification came with messages of support from people who thought they were watching a crime happen. I stood up slowly and stretched my back. I had been sitting on the wooden dock for a long time. Patricia screamed as if she had seen a weapon. "He's moving. He's coming toward me." Someone called the police. In reality, I was just walking 10 feet to the trash can to throw away my sandwich wrapper. But in Patricia's live-action show, every move I made was a dangerous attack worth telling her audience about with great drama. As I turned, I saw an old photograph through the cabin window. It was hanging on the wall and showed two men shaking hands right on this dock. The photo was dated 1990, 30 years, I mumbled to myself, thinking about my grandfather's stories. "Just like you said it would happen, Grandpa, some people never learn from the past." Patricia had her phone out again, making another call. Her hands were shaking, but I guessed it was more from excitement than fear. "Emergency. There's a dangerous man here who won't leave." "Yes, Silverwater Lake. He's threatening me. Please send everyone." I'm Patricia Coleman, the HOA President. Her performance was good enough for an Oscar, with a trembling voice and big, dramatic hand movements for her fast-growing audience. The number of viewers on her stream was climbing quickly. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000 people were watching this fake crisis happen live. "This intruder refuses to leave. I think he might be violent. I have 45,000 witnesses." She kept saying, repeating her title and the viewer count as if they were magic words that could change reality. The donation alerts were coming so fast they were a constant stream of pings. Hundreds of dollars were coming from viewers who believed they were helping a brave woman fight a dangerous criminal. I watched it all with the cool interest of a scientist watching an experiment. I knew exactly how it would end, but I was curious to see how Patricia would react when the truth finally hit her. Within minutes, I heard sirens. It sounded like many vehicles. 3 police cars drove up to the cabin with their lights flashing dramatically, creating the exact scene Patricia had set up for her audience. Chief Rodriguez got out of the first car, and I could see how tired he was just by the way he carried himself. It was clear this wasn't his first time dealing with Patricia's drama. Double quotes, "Mrs. Coleman, we meet again," he said, his voice showing he was very weary. Patricia immediately pushed her phone toward him, like a reporter at a press conference. "Finally, arrest him. 45,000 witnesses are watching right now. He's trespassing on Coleman land. He's threatening me. He made phone calls to his partners in crime. Look at him, just standing there looking dangerous." Rodriguez sighed deeply and turned to me with professional politeness. "Sir, I need to see some ID and any papers you have that give you the right to be here." I nodded calmly and walked to the cabin. I came back with a thick leather folder that I had prepared weeks ago for this very moment. "Officer Rodriguez, everything you need is here," I said, handing him the documents with a small smile. Patricia laughed with a feeling of victory before it was real, already enjoying her win. "Those fake papers won't save you. Everyone, watch justice happen. This is what happens when you mess with the Coleman legacy." Rodriguez opened the folder and started reading. His tired eyes suddenly got wide with each page he turned. I watched his face change from bored to genuinely shocked, and his hands started to tremble a little. Patricia didn't notice. She was still performing for her audience, telling them about her imagined victory. "What are you waiting for? Arrest him. The people demand justice." Rodriguez looked up from the papers, then at Patricia, then back at the papers as if he couldn't believe what he was reading. His voice was shaking a little when he finally spoke, and I knew the show was about to start. "Mrs. Coleman, you might want to stop streaming." Patricia laughed, drunk on the power she thought she had. "Why? Everyone needs to see justice. This is transparency in action." Rodriguez held up one of the documents, and I could see his hands shaking as he realized what it all meant. "Wait, these papers say? What about Patricia's house? Can you guess what Patricia doesn't know about her own home? Comment below." Rodriguez cleared his throat nervously and read from the documents. His voice was clear in the morning air, which now felt heavy with tension. This cabin is deeded to Marcus Hayes. It was established as an independent property in 1952, predating all HOA jurisdiction by 40 years. He paused, looking at the next page with more and more surprise, his eyes getting wider as he understood what he was reading. The owner of record is North Star Holdings, LLC. The name seemed to make him remember something. I saw the look of understanding come over his face, like the sun coming out from behind storm clouds. Patricia snatched the papers from his hands before he could finish. Her perfectly painted nails almost tore the old papers as she grabbed them. "Let me see these forgeries," she yelled, holding them up to her phone camera for her audience to see. "Look, everyone, they're obviously fake. You can tell by the, but even as she talked, I could see the doubt start to show in her eyes, like fog rolling in from the lake. The official stamps, the old paper yellowed by time, the many official signatures from years ago, everything about these documents screamed that they were real. Her viewers were already starting to ask questions in the comments. The public mood was beginning to turn against her. "Those look pretty real, Patricia. Maybe you should talk to a lawyer first. Why does it say North Star Holdings? My dad works for them. They own half the town." The number of viewers started to drop, from 67,000 down to 58,000 in just a few minutes. I decided it was time to make things a little more personal. "Officer Rodriguez, your father, Miguel, worked security for us from 1985 to 1995. He was a good man, always on time, always professional. We paid for his cancer treatment when the insurance company called it experimental and wouldn't cover it." Rodriguez's professional calm completely broke. You knew my dad. "He never told me who paid for those treatments. We always wondered." His voice faded as he realized the meaning of it all. "He was a good man," I continued. "North Star Holdings takes care of its people. Always have, always will." Patricia's face was turning a strange shade of purple. "It's a conspiracy. They're working together. This is deep state stuff," she yelled to her last few viewers with desperation in her voice. "Don't you see, they're trying to steal our community. First this cabin, then our homes. Wake up, people." But the damage was already done. The comments were changing from support to disbelief, and her viewer count kept going down. Her friends in their matching HOA shirts were starting to move away from her, sensing that things had changed. 2 hours later, Patricia was back with a construction crew, streaming what she called "taking back our land" direct action. She told workers to build a huge chain-link fence with razor wire on top. "If papers won't work, actions will," she announced to her last 30,000 viewers. "Build it high, build it strong." The workers looked nervous. One of them spoke up. "Ma'am, this might be illegal. We should check with the county about permits." Patricia cut him off. "I am the law here. I'm the HOA president. Build the fence now." My phone rang, and I answered it without taking my eyes off the construction show. "Yes, I see them." "No, don't step in yet," I said calmly to the lawyer on the other end. Her live stream is creating a perfect record of multiple crimes. The construction was stopped by the arrival of Wallace, the oldest person in the neighborhood. The 75-year-old man walked slowly toward Patricia's construction site. "Patricia, you're making a terrible mistake," he said, his voice heavy with the wisdom of many years. "That young man, he's Arthur Hayes' grandson. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Patricia just laughed. "So, Arthur was a nobody, a hermit." Wallace shook his head sadly. "You know nothing, child. 30 years ago, your grandfather, Richard, and Arthur Hayes were business partners. They were best friends until the money problems started, until the betrayal." Patricia's face turned red with anger. "Lies, the Colemans never needed anyone." Wallace kept talking, ignoring her shouts. "Your family lost more than money that day. They lost everything to North Star Holdings. That company owns more than you can possibly imagine. Be careful, or history will repeat itself." Patricia pushed him away, making sure her camera caught it. "Get lost, old fool. See, everyone. Haters are everywhere." But I noticed the comments were changing. What did he mean? What happened 30 years ago? What is North Star Holdings? Wallace walked away, and his final words were clear. Just like Richard, too proud to see the truth until it was too late. That evening, my phone rang. It was Richardson's amused voice. "I'm watching her stream. She's already committed 3 crimes on camera: illegal fence construction, blocking a legal pathway, and harassment. I sighed. I just wanted some peace and quiet, Richardson chuckled. Patricia Coleman, Richard Coleman's granddaughter. She really doesn't know what happened, does she? Her family lost everything to your grandfather's company. Should we tell her now? I asked. No, Richardson replied. Let her keep digging her hole. She's about to find out that the county records were updated last week. Do you know how much she actually owes in back rent? I smiled at the twist. Tell me. Richardson's laugh was full of satisfaction. 3 months at $6,000 a month plus late fees and penalties for a total of $22,350. She's been screaming about her land while living in a North Star Holdings property. For 10 years, the irony was perfect. Come to my office tomorrow, Richardson said. It's time you understood everything you've inherited, because tomorrow, Patricia is going to find out. He paused for dramatic effect. What if I told you Patricia doesn't actually own anything? What do you think happened to the Coleman family fortune? Wrong answers only in the comments. Richardson's office took up the whole top floor of the Oak Ridge Financial Center, a building I had passed so many times without knowing my family owned it. The old lawyer greeted me with a firm handshake and took me to a conference room where a huge digital screen covered one wall. It's time you understood what you've inherited, Marcus, he said, dimming the lights with a remote. The screen lit up, showing a satellite map of Oak Ridge County in amazing detail. Your grandfather, Arthur, was a brilliant man. While everyone else was selling in a panic during the 1990 recession, he was buying. Watch this. He clicked the remote, and something amazing started to happen. Buildings all over the map started turning blue. One by one, the Oak Ridge Shopping Center turned blue first, then the Oak Ridge General Hospital, then 3 elementary schools one after another. Every big grocery store chain turned blue, followed by the movie theaters, gyms, and office buildings. The changes kept coming until the color blue covered the map. That's over half the county, I managed to say, my voice just a whisper. Richardson smiled, pleased, 65% to be exact. The current value is $2.8 billion, all legally bought, all well managed through different companies under the North Star Holdings name. He clicked again, zooming in on different areas. The power company, North Star. The water company, North Star. The waste management, internet service. Even the company that takes care of the traffic lights, all North Star companies. Your grandfather knew that real power isn't about owning houses, but about owning everything that makes those houses work. The map kept showing its secrets. But how did nobody know? I asked. Richardson chuckled. Shell companies, smaller companies, holding companies. It's all legal, all connected, but complicated enough that only someone seeing the whole picture would understand its size. Now, Richardson said, his voice becoming dramatic, let's look at Silver Water Lake. He clicked again, and the whole HOA community turned blue in a second. Every house, every street, every shared area. A 99-year land lease, established in 1993. Every single house in Silver Water pays ground rent to North Star Holdings, but then I saw something strange. One house was blinking red. Richardson zoomed in on it, and text appeared, Tenant, P. Coleman, 3 months overdue. $22,350, including penalties. I stared at the screen, unable to believe it. She's been yelling about her land, Richardson finished my thought. While living in your house for 10 years, never knowing she was paying rent to the company. She's now trying to destroy. Meanwhile, across town at the Silver Water Community Center, Patricia was holding what she called a war council. Her live stream showed her talking to about 200 supporters, all wearing matching Save Silver Water t-shirts. North Star equals corporate evil. She yelled to loud applause. Her viewer count was back up to 95,000. They want to destroy our paradise, turn our beautiful community into parking lots. She had a presentation ready with graphs and charts that didn't prove anything but looked impressive. Look, North Star Holdings was created in 1990, the same year our economy crashed. They are disaster capitalists, the crowd gasped and whispered. Patricia's performance reached a new level of emotional drama. My grandfather built this place with his bare hands. Coleman blood is in every brick. Now some corporation with no face thinks they can steal what 5 generations created. She actually managed to cry. We can't let them win. This isn't just about property, it's about our identity. The crowd was on its feet, chanting, Save our lake, save our lake. Patricia announced her action plan with military-like orders. Everyone, file complaints, call the county, call the news. Make this a national story. Back in Richardson's office, I was having trouble taking it all in, so I could evict her today. Richardson nodded. One phone call. But you're your grandfather's grandson. You want to do this with class. I thought carefully. Send a standard late rent notice. Professional, no threats. Maybe she understand and stop. Richardson shook his head. She burned it on stream. I've seen this before, but I was firm about taking the high road that evening. Patricia received the notice during her nightly stream. Oh, look, more fan mail, she announced, opening the envelope. Her face changed as she read it. This is harassment. She held the letter up briefly. Notice of outstanding balance, $22,350. Fake intimidation tactics, Patricia screamed. Crushing the notice, she turned to her fireplace. This is what I think of their threats. She threw the paper into the flames piece by piece, but something was happening in her comments section. Wait, why does it say tenant? Patricia, please. Explain, are you actually renting? She ignored the comments. Tomorrow, at the county offices, we will expose North Star's lies. Bring everyone, call the media, this is our Boston Tea Party. As her stream ended, I sat in my cabin watching the replay. Richardson called one last time, ready for tomorrow. He asked, as ready as I'll ever be, I replied, looking out at the calm lake. Should we tell Patricia she's been living in my house for 10 years? How much do you think Patricia owes in back rent? The closest guess gets pinned. The Oak Ridge County building looked like a circus had arrived, with all 3 rings going at once. 10 news vans lined the street, their satellite dishes pointing to the sky like metal flowers trying to reach the sun. Reporters practiced their opening lines, and camera operators fought for the best spots. Patricia had done her job well. This was going to be a show people remembered for years. She arrived in a parade of supporters, all wearing their Save Silverwater shirts, and immediately started streaming to her audience with the energy of a general leading his army into battle. David versus Goliath, live, she announced with a triumphant voice that carried over the crowd. Her viewer count was already at 156,000 and climbing fast like a rocket launching into space. She had reached the #1 trending spot in the nation, and the comment section was moving so fast you couldn't read the messages. Today, truth wins against lies, Patricia declared, walking toward the building entrance as if she owned it, which was funny considering what was about to be revealed. Inside the county building, Patricia had planned for a huge media event with the skill of a Hollywood director. She set up 3 different camera angles using phones she borrowed from supporters, making sure every moment would be filmed in high definition from every angle. Full transparency, no secrets, no shady deals, she announced to the nervous county officials who were clearly not ready for this much media attention. The main conference room was so full it was overflowing. People were standing along the walls and packed into the doorway, creating a fire hazard that everyone ignored in the excitement. The meeting started with a county official nervously reading from his notes, his hands shaking a little. We're here today to address the property dispute between Ms. Patricia Coleman and North Star Holdings regarding the cabin at Silver Water Lake. Patricia couldn't stop herself. She interrupted before he could even finish. It's not a dispute, it's theft, criminal trespassing, fraud, and corporate crime. She slammed her folder on the table for effect, and the sound was like a judge's gavel. I had been sitting quietly in the back of the room, watching the whole show with the cool distance of a scientist watching an experiment. Now I stood up slowly, letting my movement naturally draw everyone's attention. May I use the projection screen? I asked calmly, my voice cutting through the noise like a sharp knife. Patricia laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. Oh, now he wants to talk. What's wrong? Couldn't afford a real lawyer. Going to show us more fake papers? She turned to her audience and rolled her eyes dramatically. Let him embarrass himself. This should be fun. Watch how we take down corporate lies. The crowd jeered as I walked to the front with Richardson and his team of 5 lawyers around me like a security detail. We had brought only 1 laptop bag, which seemed to make Patricia even more amused. Richardson connected the laptop with expert skill, moving with the confidence of someone who had done this many times before. Ladies and gentlemen, Richardson started, his courtroom voice immediately getting everyone's attention. Let me show you who really owns what in Oak Ridge County. The screen showed a map of Oak Ridge County with every detail in perfect clarity. Richardson clicked his mouse with a dramatic flair. Buildings started turning blue all over the map, slowly at first, then faster and faster like an avalanche. The murmuring began almost right away, quiet at first, then growing louder. Oak Ridge Shopping Center, Richardson said as it turned blue, his voice as steady as a news anchor's. More clicks followed quickly. Oak Ridge General Hospital, Fairview Elementary, Riverside Elementary, Oak Ridge Middle School. Each name brought more gasps from the crowd, the sound moving through the room like waves. The blue color spread across the map like spilled ink, covering building after building. Every major grocery chain, the movie theater, all the gyms, the walk-in clinics, the blue had now covered more than half the map, and the room had become strangely quiet except for the sound of Richardson's mouse clicks. "And this building you're sitting in right now," Richardson continued, his voice never shaking. He clicked one more time, and the county government building turned bright blue, glowing like a beacon. North Star Holdings has owned it for 15 years. The county government is our tenant. They pay us $1.2 million a year in rent. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of papers rustling as county officials quickly checked their lease agreements. Patricia stood up, shaking so much she looked like a leaf in a hurricane. "Lies, this is all Photoshop. Deepfakes, CGI or corporate propaganda." But her voice had lost its power, cracking like thin ice. Even her most loyal supporters were looking, confused, checking their phones and whispering to each other. The comment section on her stream had completely changed, becoming a storm of digital anger. "Wait, what? Is this real? Oh my God, Patricia, what's happening?" The number of viewers started dropping fast. Richardson delivered the final blow with perfect timing. "Now, let's look at Silverwater Lake specifically." The map zoomed in, and the whole HOA community turned blue in an instant. A 99-year land lease established in 1993. Every single house in Silverwater pays ground rent to North Star Holdings. Every single one. He clicked again, and one house started blinking red like a warning light. Except we have one tenant who's currently 3 months behind on rent. Patricia Coleman of 47 Silverwater Drive, $6,000 per month plus late fees and penalties, total due $22,350. The room exploded like a volcano. Patricia's supporters were turning on her, their voices raised in anger and confusion. "You said this was Coleman land. We've been paying rent this whole time. You lied to us." Patricia's stream was in chaos. The viewer count was plummeting, comments were turning nasty, and people were demanding their donations back. Richardson pulled up historical documents on the screen, each one perfectly saved and legally proven. For those wondering how this happened, let me share some history. In 1990, Richard Coleman, Patricia's grandfather, borrowed $500 million from North Star Holdings. The collateral, every single thing the Coleman family owned. He clicked through the loan documents, each one properly signed and stamped. By 1993, the loan was in complete default. North Star foreclosed completely illegally. "We bought everything at a public auction." The final document appeared on the screen, a death certificate that made several people gasp. Richard Coleman took his own life on August 15, 1993, in this building, in the third-floor bathroom. Patricia fell back into her chair, her phone clattering on the floor but still streaming, still recording her total humiliation for everyone to see. I stood up and spoke for the first time since the truth came out, my voice calm but carrying. "Clearly, I didn't want this fight. I just wanted to fish in peace at my grandfather's cabin. But you attacked me, Mrs. Coleman. You built illegal fences. You called 911 with false claims. You organized harassment campaigns." My voice stayed even, which seemed to make my words hit harder. "All while living in my property, refusing to pay rent, and claiming you owned something that was never yours. Your grandfather betrayed my grandfather. They were best friends, business partners, until greed destroyed everything." As I turned to leave, I stopped at the door for one last reveal. "Oh, and Patricia, you know I own the power company, too." Righty, her head snapped up, her eyes wide with a new kind of fear. The meaning was clear, and the threat hung in the air like a storm cloud. "You know what happens when you attack someone who owns your electricity. Predict Patricia's next desperate move. The most creative answer wins a heart." The change in Patricia Coleman from an HOA president to a domestic terrorist took less than 24 hours. It was a fall into madness, broadcast live for anyone still watching. By 2 o'clock in the morning, she was streaming to her last 30 loyal followers. From her home, the woman on the screen looked nothing like the perfectly put-together suburban queen from the day before. Her hair was messy, sticking up in all directions like she had been running her hands through it over and over. Her makeup was smeared, creating dark shadows under her eyes that made her look haunted. Empty wine bottles were scattered in the background, and she swayed a little as she talked to her shrinking audience. "My true supporters are still here." She slurred, her eyes wild with a mix of alcohol and rage. "The rest were fake friends, traitors. They didn't deserve to be part of our revolution." The comment section was a mix of real concern and people encouraging her bad behavior. Some tried to be voices of reason. "Patricia, maybe you should get some sleep," but others fed her crazy ideas. "Yes, Queen, show them who's boss. North Star thinks they own everything, they control our power." She laughed, a harsh sound with no real humor in it. What if there's no power? They can't control what doesn't exist, they can't charge rent when there's no power. Her last few viewers perked up, sensing more drama was coming, like sharks smelling blood in the water. Patricia leaned closer to the camera, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Tomorrow night, 3 a.m. the Silver Water Substation. We cut the main lines, no power means no control. Then we negotiate from a position of strength." One follower, showing more sense than the others, typed frantically, "Patricia, that's illegal. That's a federal crime." Patricia's face twisted with rage. "Illegal? They stole my birthright? This isn't a crime, this is a revolution. Are you with Emmy or are you another traitor?" The follower's username immediately vanished from the viewer list. Patricia kept planning her crime on her stream, too drunk and lost in her own lies to realize she was creating evidence that would seal her fate. At 3:17 the next morning, Patricia streamed her crime to the world with the pride of someone who thought they were making history. Using night vision on her phone, she recorded her walk to the Silver Water Substation, talking like she was in some crazy nature show. "This is for my family. For everyone North Star has crushed, for justice." She used bolt cutters with wild energy, attacking the chain link fence around the electrical equipment. Once she was inside, she didn't stop. The first power line fell with a shower of sparks that lit up the night like fireworks. "Freedom!" She screamed as street lights started going out in a line. Darkness spread across the neighborhood like spilled ink. House lights blinked out one by one, and Patricia danced in the flashing light of the electrical sparks. Her last few viewers typed desperately, "Patricia, stop. My dad needs his oxygen machine," but Patricia was too far gone to be reached. Then she made the mistake that turned her from a local pest into a federal criminal. Instead of stopping with the local lines, she attacked the main transformer, a key piece of equipment that powered not just Silver Water but half of Oak Ridge County. The explosion of sparks when she cut through the main line was so bright it could be seen for miles. A fountain of electricity that lit up the sky before plunging everything into darkness. Hospitals, emergency services, water treatment plants, all of them were suddenly without power. Patricia stood in the middle of it all, lit only by her phone screen, laughing like a maniac. "We did it. We're free. Let's see North Star control." Nothing now. She was so caught up in her win that she didn't see the one building still lit up in the distance, my cabin, running on its own power system, a small light in the darkness she had created. Her stream continued for a few more minutes, showing her crazy celebration dance among the destroyed equipment before her phone battery finally died, ending her broadcasting career forever. The emergency meeting at the community center looked like something from a disaster movie. Hundreds of people were crowded into the building, using flashlights and foam lights to see in the darkness. Babies were crying because their parents couldn't warm their formula without electricity. Old people were struggling to breathe without their medical equipment. The anger in the room was so thick you could feel it, and it was all aimed at one person. "Where is Patricia?" they yelled. "She did this to us." When I arrived with Chief Rodriguez and we set up emergency lights powered by generators, the crowd's anger turned into desperate thanks. Rodriguez addressed the crowd with a serious voice. "The FBI is already involved. This is being treated as domestic terrorism. Federal infrastructure was destroyed. He paused to let that sink in. The damage is extensive. Specialized equipment was destroyed and must be special ordered from overseas. The power company estimates it will take at least 3 to 4 weeks for repairs. The crowd exploded in panic. Someone had saved Patricia's stream and was showing it around. There she was, happily destroying the transformer while screaming about a revolution. I took the microphone from Rodriguez. I understand your anger. You are all victims here. Patricia Coleman manipulated this community, used your trust, and has now destroyed your lives, all for a delusional grudge. I paused, looking at as many people in the crowd as I could. North Star Holdings will pay for all the damage, but someone has to pay for it. The repairs will cost $4.7 million. Insurance doesn't cover criminal acts of terrorism. I let that number sink in. So, either your electricity rates will triple for everyone to cover the cost. That's about $300 more a month for each household, or I paused for effect, or North Star will cover the cost. But there would be conditions. The crowd leaned forward, desperate. What conditions? Someone yelled. Complete cooperation in finding Patricia Coleman. The immediate end of the current HOA. Professional management by North Star from now on, with clear accounting and regular checks, and everyone signs 10-year lease agreements at current prices with price increases limited 2% a year. The alternative was obvious: no power for a month or new rates no one could afford. We'll do anything, they yelled together, just help us. The agreement was quick and desperate. As FBI helicopters flew overhead, searching for Patricia with infrared cameras, my phone rang. It was an FBI agent. Mr. Hayes, we've located Coleman, but you need to know what else we found. The IRS has been investigating her for years. Tax evasion, embezzlement, fraud. She's been stealing from these people while pretending to protect them. I looked out at the crowd of desperate faces, seeing them not as Patricia's supporters, but as her victims. These people had trusted her, and she had betrayed them in every way possible. Did Patricia just commit a federal crime on a live stream? How many years in prison for destroying public utilities? Take a guess. The manhunt for Patricia Coleman became the biggest story in the state. By the next morning, the FBI had set up a command center in the Silver Water parking lot with mobile communication centers and armored vehicles. Helicopters circled above with searchlights cutting through the early morning darkness. Her face was on every news channel, usually with the worst-looking screenshot from her final stream, wild-dyed, hair flying, and bolt cutters held up like some crazy Statue of Liberty. The news banners told the story in dramatic headlines: domestic terrorist destroys power grid, HOA President goes rogue, $500,000 without power, $4.7 million in federal damages. Tips poured in from everywhere. She's hiding in the woods. Check the old Coleman estate. Everyone wanted to be the one to find her, partly to do the right thing, but mostly because they wanted someone to blame for their spoiled food and dead phones. The FBI agents worked carefully, following every lead while dealing with a community that was getting angrier by the hour. The end came at the old, abandoned Coleman family mansion, which had been rotting for 30 years. Patricia had locked herself inside and was still streaming to her last 12 followers. Martyrs never surrender. She screamed at her phone, her expensive clothes torn and dirty. They want to silence me because I know the truth. Coleman land is sacred. The FBI breach team surrounded the building. Patricia Coleman, this is the FBI. Exit the building with your hands visible. Instead of listening, Patricia started throwing furniture at the windows. Coleman land forever. You'll never take me alive. When the FBI finally broke down the door, Patricia tried to run but tripped over a pile of old Coleman family photos she had been hoarding. She fell face first, her phone still streaming as she was handcuffed. This is illegal. I'm a sovereign citizen of Coleman territory. The FBI agent reading her charges had to raise his voice over her yelling. Patricia Coleman, you are under arrest for domestic terrorism, destruction of critical infrastructure, inciting violence, tax evasion in the amount of $347,000, embezzlement of HOA funds totaling $1.2 million, wire fraud, and 3 outstanding warrants from neighboring counties. The news about the tax evasion sent Patricia into even deeper denial. Tax evasion, that's fake news. The agent pulled out a tablet. The IRS found that your nonprofit HOA account bought a 50-foot yacht named Queen Patricia, a Mercedes G-Wagon. jewelry totaling over $200,000, and paid for 7 tropical vacations, all while claiming you were a tax-exempt organization. The comments on the stream from her last viewers told the story. Patricia stole our money. We trusted her. One by one, her viewer count dropped to 0. Patricia Coleman's digital empire died just as ridiculously as it had lived. The public payback came 3 days later in the community center. Emergency generators provided some basic light, but the room was still dim, which matched the mood of the people gathered there. Let's discuss the facts, I began, my voice carrying clearly. No more lies, no more manipulation. Here's the truth about North Star Holdings. I had Richardson show the ownership map again. North Star owns 65% of Oak Ridge County. We employ 3,000 local residents. We've kept utility rates the lowest in the state for 15 years until Patricia Coleman declared war on us with lies. The damage report was shocking. Power grid repairs, $4.7 million. Legal costs, $800,000. Lost productivity, $2 million. Total damage, over $7.5 million. The crowd whispered nervously. But that's not all. Our financial experts review the HOA's finances. Over 5 years, Patricia Coleman stole $1.2 million from HOA funds. Your fees paid for her lifestyle while she pretended to be protecting you. The crowd erupted. She robbed us while claiming to fight for us. I raised my hand for silence. North Star Holdings will cover all repair costs. The power will be restored. In 3 weeks with no price increases, a wave of relief went through the room. However, we do require a few things. First, the HOA will be shut down immediately. It will be replaced with professional management. Second, everyone will sign 10-year lease agreements with price increases limited to 2% a year. Third, all major decisions will be made democratically. The terms were more than fair. The agreements were signed by everyone within minutes. As the meeting ended, someone asked, "What will happen to Patricia?" Richardson smiled a little. She's facing 20 years in federal prison. But Mr. Hayes has suggested another option, something about a bathroom on the 3rd floor of the county building. The crowd went quiet. Remembering the story about Patricia's grandfather, I stood to leave but turned back one last time. I came here for peace and quiet. Patricia Coleman forced this fight with her greed, her lies, and her crazy ideas. But maybe some good can come from this terrible situation. We're starting new affordable housing projects, we're creating job training programs, we're investing in this community's future. The crowd applauded, some with tears in their eyes. Patricia claimed to be protecting you from corporate greed while stealing your money. We're going to show you what a responsible company really looks like, not with empty promises or fake live streams, but with actions that help everyone. As I walked out, I heard people talking about the future with hope instead of anger. The healing could begin, even as Patricia faced the results of her crimes. Want to know the real reason Patricia's family lost everything 30 years ago? What dark secret connects the Hayes and Coleman families? Theory time in the comments. The courtroom was packed for Patricia Coleman's sentencing. Every seat was filled with her old supporters who had come to see justice done. She sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, a huge change from the expensive outfit she had worn during her time as HOA queen. Her face was thin and pale from months in jail. The judge read the verdicts with a slow, careful voice, each word another nail in the coffin of her fantasy world. On the charge of domestic terrorism, guilty; destruction of federal property, guilty; tax evasion, guilty; embezzlement, guilty. Ms. Coleman, you face a minimum of 20 years in federal prison with no chance of parole. Patricia's attempt to defend herself was as crazy as everything else she had done. Your Honor, I was protecting our heritage. Coleman land is sacred. This is a conspiracy between corrupt corporations and... The judge cut her off with a sharp bang of his gavel that echoed through the room. Miss Coleman, you mean the Hayes land that your family lost 30 years ago. The land you've been renting for the past decade while pretending to own it. Patricia's high-pitched objection was ignored by everyone. It was a final, useless protest from someone who had lost all respect. I stood to address the court, feeling the importance of the moment. Your Honor, North Star Holdings would like to suggest a different sentence. We believe Miss Coleman could better pay her debt to society through community service rather than jail time. The judge leaned forward, interested in spite of himself. What kind of community service did you have in mind, Mr. Hayes? I looked at Patricia, who was looking at me with desperate hope, still not getting that she was about to face a different kind of justice. 10 years of janitorial work at the county building, specifically cleaning the third-floor facilities. Minimum wage, of course, no access to social media or live streaming ever again. Weekly therapy sessions to deal with her fantasies of being important and her narcissistic personality disorder. We believe this would be more educational than prison. The judge thought about this carefully, understanding what it all meant. The very building where her grandfather took his own life rather than face what he had done. I nodded slowly. Poetic justice, Your Honor. A daily reminder of where pride and greed eventually lead. Every day she cleans that bathroom, she remember that her grandfather chose death over responsibility and she chose crime over truth. 5 years later, I saw Patricia during one of my few visits to the county building. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. The building was still quiet except for the cleaning staff, and she was already working. She was pushing her cleaning cart down the third-floor hallway with the robotic movements of someone who had long ago stopped thinking about what they were doing. Her once perfect hair was now gray at the roots, pulled back in a simple ponytail that showed she had given up on her appearance. Her designer clothes had been replaced by a gray janitor's uniform with her name sewn on the pocket, a name that had once demanded respect but now meant nothing. She moved with the tired shuffle of someone who had learned their place in the world the hard way. When she got to the bathroom door, that specific bathroom with the brass memorial plaque, she paused like she always did and stared at the words that read, "In memory of those lost to pride." Then she went in and started her daily routine of cleaning the place where her grandfather had ended his life rather than face the results of his actions, the final Coleman family tradition of choosing destruction over responsibility. The door opened behind her, and a young woman in an expensive business suit walked in, her heels clicking confidently on the tile floor. Patricia looked up from her scrubbing and froze, her face a mask of shock. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice rough from not being used. Her daughter stood tall and confident, everything Patricia had tried to be but never was. "Hello, Mother," Sarah replied, her voice professional but not mean. Patricia's hands shook as she held her mop, her knuckles white with stress. You look successful," Sarah nodded without hesitating. I'm the Vice President of Development at North Star Holdings. Mr. Hayes gave me a scholarship when no one else would hire me because of our name. He said, sins are not passed down, only learned. The words cut deep, but they were true. I earned my position through hard work, not by tricking people, through skill, not connections, through honesty, not lies, everything you never taught me. I had to learn myself. Patricia's attempt to hold on to her lies was sad, her voice weak. He destroyed our family, stole everything from us, asterisk. Sarah's reply was calm but strong, spoken with the confidence of someone who had done her homework. No, Mother. I've seen all the documents. Grandfather destroyed our family with his greed. He borrowed money he couldn't pay back, betrayed his best friend when Arthur tried to help him, and then took the coward's way out, right here in this bathroom. You followed his path, and look where it got you. She pointed around the bathroom with its industrial cleaning supplies and harsh lights. Mr. Hayes showed me the real records. Arthur Hayes offered payment plans, lower interest, even partial forgiveness. But grandfather wanted everything or nothing, so he got nothing. Just like you, Patricia turned back to her mop, unable to look her daughter in the eye and face the truth. I'm buying a house in Silver Water Lake, Sarah continued, with money I earned honestly, the right way, the way you never learned. After Sarah left, Patricia went back to her cleaning, her tears mixing with the mop water. Her reflection on the wet floor showed a broken woman who had lost everything to pride. Meanwhile, I sat at my favorite fishing spot on the dock, finally enjoying the peace I had wanted in the first place. The morning sun painted Silver Water Lake with colors of gold and amber. The only sounds were the singing of birds and the gentle sound of water hitting the old wood. My phone rang. It was Sarah telling me about the new development project that would bring affordable housing to the county. Her voice was bright with real excitement about helping others. As we talked about the details, I looked at the old photograph I kept in my wallet. It showed two men shaking hands, best friends, before money ruined everything. My grandfather and Richard Coleman had once shared this view, dreamed together of building something great. Pride and greed had destroyed that partnership. But maybe the next generation could do better. Sarah was proof that the mistakes of the parents didn't have to be the fate of the children. The call ended and I went back to my fishing, finally at peace in the cabin my grandfather had left me. In the distance, I could see the county building, where Patricia was paying for her mistakes, cleaning the site of her family's final failure every single day. It was a living reminder that karma, even if it's slow, is always sure. Guess who just became Patricia's boss? We don't make this stuff up. Real people are just this wild. BD Stories proves it. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next unbelievable episode.